Well, the place we're going now is London, or as it's known in my house, that London. I'd like to introduce you to, first of all, David Coburn, who is chairman of UKIP London, who is then going to introduce us to someone you may have heard of, a guy called Webb, who's actually going to be our mayoral candidate for London. But without any further delay, if I can ask David, who I hope is not behind me, to come and join me on the platform. Thank you.
Good morning, UKIPers all. Well, London has never been so united. Lawrence Webb, our RO, and myself have been amalgamating branches to create a lean, mean fighting machine to take on Labour and the Conservatives in London. Mayor Duffy's assessment centres have been processing Assembly candidates very efficiently. I was going to suggest, after the performance of the bucking bronco last night, that perhaps we should use that as part of the assessment. I'd like all the candidates who have been on the process of being assessed by Mayor Duffy to come down here. I'd like you all to come up on the stage. Those of you who are still with us after last night's assessment. There we are, come on, that's it. Give a big hand, ladies and gentlemen. Up, down. There are more. Not all of my dear families, everyone's jobs. They're real people, not professional politicians. Give it all to me. You start to get. Oh, not you, off. I thought we got rid of you. Okay, you retain your seat. Thank you very much. Give a round of applause. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my car was trashed in the riot and I watched it from my living room window on the cavalry stable. The riots have presented UKIP with the responsibility and an opportunity. Oh, I'm sorry. Boris the Booby blunders from one inane bike-riding photo opportunity to another. His Woodhouseian charm and classical quotations lose their lustre if your home and business are being looted and burnt by immoral, feral scallywags. His senior police officers at the Met are crippled by political correctness and unable to stamp out riots before they spread. Boris, the great classicist, takes his inspiration from Pericles, but quite frankly, it's more like Nero fiddling while London burns. UKIP, unlike the Conservatives, are a party for all classes in society, and the Assembly members will do their level best to go to all those classes in society. The states have been plagued with gang crime for years, caused by Red 10 and Labour's appalling crime, educational and social policies. The Tories, when they get in, do very little about it, until it spills into middle-class areas. But the people on the estates have had to put up with this on a daily basis. We want to make sure the people on the estates know that UKIP supports zero tolerance of crime. Grammar schools for academically gifted children who should have first-class education, whatever their background. We want commercial and technical schools for the practically inclined. We want remedial schools for those who need help to get on. And we want detention centres for disruptive jobs run by ex-soldiers to give them the father figures and the discipline they often lack at home. No kid should fail through peer pressure. UKIP will not let champagne socialists and Tories keep the people on the estates in their place. They should have the right to demand decent education like everybody else. If Londoners want a meritocratic Britain with opportunity for all, they need to vote for the UKIP Assembly members and our candidate for Mayor, Lawrence Webb. If you're worried about your job, worried about your business, vote for UKIP's Assembly member, Londoners, and vote for the Mayor. Now, I had the good fortune to come second to the only man in the world I would rather come second to in the mayoral competition, Lawrence Webb. He has been a fantastic regional officer for some 6 years. He's held London together through good times and bad. He's done a fantastic job helping me, reorganising all the branches to make us a fighting machine. He's a fabulous bloke. We had a very gentlemanly contest in London, 5 of us. Everybody was of superb quality. We all tried very hard. No backstabbing, no biting, no kicking and no scratching. Lawrence won by fair means and fine means. And I'd like you all to welcome him. I think you all know him very well. Lawrence Webb, the next Mayor of London.
That was quite the warm-up act. Thank you, David. Before I start, I'd just like to remind you of something that went on yesterday around this time. And that was Peter Reid running through a list of the councillors that we've had elected. Well, I have some very good news. We had a new name to add to that list, and that is my daughter. 7-year-old Jennifer was yesterday elected to her school council. I don't think she stood entirely on a UKIP platform, but she was advocating more public spending. At least that is buying new books for the reception classes where their books are tattered and torn. And another note, of course, I fear that having achieved 62% of the vote, she has set rather a high bar for me to but it proves the Webbs can win in London. I'm delighted to have won the party's nomination to be UKIP's mayoral candidate in the 2012 elections next year. And I'd like to thank all those that supported and indeed voted for me. It is also extremely encouraging that we've had, it's 6 people though, not 5, vying to be our mayoral candidate. And we'd like to thank them all. As I said, they said it was a clean fight, and at no time were there any reports of punching, biting or gouging. Quite unusual in a UKIP contest. There is a wealth of talent amongst my fellow candidates, and I hope that you will join me and put all your efforts into getting elected representation in London in 2012. We must now get on with the task of setting out my and UKIP's vision for London, which is one that I believe will resonate with the ordinary folk of London. That said, it is not going to be an easy fight. It is going to be a rematch of Boris and Ken. Last time they met, everybody got squeezed, including the increasingly irrelevant Liberal Democrats who lost 2 seats on the Assembly. But I believe Londoners are crying out for change, especially in the light of the recent London riots and the less than helpful comments of both Boris and Ken Livingstone. But I have to say, I'm not entirely sure if Boris is on the side of law and order or in fact on the side of the rioters. Let's face it, he's on rather thin ice when it comes to criticising those who recently went on a rampage, smashing shop windows, as he himself and his mate Dave, whilst at Oxford, belonged to the Bullingdon Club, which had a reputation for doing just that. With the ongoing Euro debt crisis and the negative impact of EU legislation on London jobs, there has never been a better time for UKIP. One of the critical issues in this election is going to be about jobs in London. As many of you know, at the end of last year, Conservatives and Labour MEPs voted through legislation that is going to have a huge impact on the way the city operates and will result in many financial service jobs moving overseas. But also, it will be those people in the support industries for the financial services that will also lose their jobs. Only UKIP can defend the city. But it's not just city jobs that are under threat. Next year, Boris is due to expand the scope of the low emission zone, something first introduced by Kent. This will have a devastating impact on small businesses, charities and the self-employed around London. Many small charities will simply not be able to afford new or retrofit existing vehicles with filters. Already St John's Ambulance Service has had to scrap 8 ambulances and find the money to modify 32 others. And the list goes on. This affects many, many industries, particularly those with specialist vehicles for recovery and, as you know, the ice cream industry. And this could result in ice cream vans no longer being on the streets of London. Simply not suitable for modification. And the sad part is the filters don't work in an urban environment. Only UKIP will speak up for small business. But be warned, it is not just London that is affected with the low emission zones. They are being considered up and down the country, with some 30 towns and cities considering bringing them in. Like so much EU-directed legislation, it is ill thought out and is implemented regardless of the negative impact it will have on British jobs and the overall increase in cost to business. Even London Transport for London's own research says that most LEZ schemes would have a modest reduction in emissions and improvement in air quality. And subsequent studies have actually shown that these filters have led to an increase in the more harmful NOx levels. Whilst we all want cleaner air, forcing ordinary hard-working people off the road is not the answer. It is not vehicles per se that pollute, but rather the people driving them. And until we tackle the problem of mass uncontrolled immigration, we are not going to achieve any of these targets. Whilst I will fight to win, it is important to remember that as well as voting for a London mayor, we will also be voting in London for people to sit on the London Assembly. And come what may, it is vital that we have an independent voice on that Assembly to hold the eventual winner to account. With your help, and perhaps more importantly, your money, we can win in London. Thank you.